Thanks everyone for joining us today. We have a very diverse group on the phone representing some of our partners, prospects, and customers. And so just a couple of little housekeeping notes. First, if you want to join in from a social media perspective, then please use the Workday tag that you see on your screen. To set a little bit of context for this, Workday 20 was the second release of 3 for us this year, and it was delivered to all of our customers in the August timeframe, so it's in production. So for the most part, what we're going to show you has already been developed and delivered. There are a couple of things that we'll talk about that are futures, and so we've included our safe harbor statement. I'll give you just a quick second to read that. All right, so I'm Mike Franson, Vice President of Products. I'll be presenting a quick overview of the things that we've done for Workday 20. I'll be joined later in the presentation by Christina Gold, who will do a demo of some of the exciting new features that we have. And then we have about 30 minutes of prepared materials, so plenty of time for questions, and our CTO, Stan Sweet, will join us for questions at the end of the planned presentation. So what we've done here really is try to capture kind of a flyover of Workday 20. And so the first thing I wanted to show you is a summary of the kind of the momentum that we have. 207 new features for this release. As of Workday 20, we're now supporting 23 languages. And I wanted to call out special attention to what we call our brainstorm items. So we have a place within our ecosystem for customers to basically give suggestions on things that they'd like to see changed or added in the software, and we call that brainstorm. And we're very pleased that almost 40% of the features for this release actually came from the brainstorm. And you'll see over the last couple of years that we've provided over 600 features. And what we're going to do today is talk about 5 things that are really representative of kind of overall focus for us within Workday. So you see sort of like an agenda to the right, and I'll cover those 5 topics, then we'll demo a couple of those topics later in the presentation. So for those of you who've been following Workday, you'll know that last year at our Rising conference, we announced our plans to build Workday Big Data Analytics. And at our Rising conference earlier this month, we actually announced the general availability of this product. So this is really the key deliverable or the key announcement as part of Workday 20. I'm going to spend a little bit of time giving you some background on big data, what it means for us functionally and how it works technically. So our customers have been asking us for a long time to be able to augment the data that we hold in Workday, both from a HR perspective and a financial perspective with other data. And the way that we've kind of thought about it is, how do our customers measure success? How do they measure success of an individual employee? How do they measure success of a business unit, of a country? And so how do we allow them to bring that data in and measure success? So first thing I want to do is augment Workday data. That data can come from really anywhere. It can come from social media, it can come from their CRM system, their asset management system, loan tracking system, you name it. So how do we bring that data in and make it relevant with the rest of Workday data? And we want to do that in a way that is really simple and allows them to get that information out to their managers and the decision makers quickly and accurately. And really the goal is to help those managers and their employees make better decisions and really make better use of the overall system. So from a technical perspective, this diagram gives you kind of an overview of the different parts of the product. So starting at the top left, we're really grabbing onto all sorts of data streams, whether it be structured from a relational database, semi-structured, things like surveys or information coming in from third-party data sources, and potentially even, like I said earlier, Twitter streams or social media, where we can get some sort of a consensus on sort of people's views on a vendor, on a customer, or on us as a company. Then we take that into what we call our big data store, which allows us to basically map that data back to the Workday data. So you can see between the sort of the analytics diagram and the big data store that there are arrows going both ways. So the idea is that we would pull data from Workday back into the big data store and marry that together with summarized data from all these different sources to basically provide meaningful analytics. Once those analytics are available, they can either be viewed on the desktop or on our mobile platforms. And then in addition to having the analytics be available, they're also, with our platform, available to act on. And so Christine will show you some of the capabilities around basically seeing the analytics and then also acting on the analytics. Part of the solution with the GA is a series of analytic templates or pre-built analytics that we're delivering with the product. And the idea behind these is really to get the creative juices flowing, get people thinking about how they might want to use third-party data to marry that with Workday data. So you see here 10 examples, 5 for human capital management and 5 for finance. You can really think of these as a starter kit that we've used, like I said, to give examples. We fully expect each customer to map the data that's relevant to them into these templates and to then use the templates to do some of the worklets that we would expect to see on people's desktop and on their mobile devices. Now, we're very excited about this capability growing over the course of the next couple of years. Our customers are all on the same version of the software, and over the history, we've seen lots of sharing around business processes, around reports, around analytics, even around integration. And this is just another opportunity, we think, to sort of mine or make use of our community. So you'll see this grow over time, and I think we'll have lots of interesting new analytics that we'll add each release. All right. So moving off of big data, what I wanted to do is then talk about things that are specific to financials and HR. So from a financial perspective, we're really working on 4 main areas, and I'm going to talk about 2 today. The first is providing deep functionality, but providing that deep functionality at a very scalable level. Performance for financials is critical. So we've been doing lots of work over the course of the last couple of years to basically scale our product all around everything that you would expect from a high-volume system. The number of documents that we're processing, the complexity of the documents that we're processing, the number of concurrent users. And most important for us is really the ability to do reporting and to drill down on that reporting with large numbers of large bits of information. And so we've used the concept of journal lines as a proxy for sort of the size of the companies that we deal with. In the springtime, we completed a benchmark with a sample company using 50 million journal lines a year, and we expanded that this summer to 100 million, and that was really our goal for the end of the year. That's gone so well that we've doubled our goal for the end of the year to make that 200 million. And this eye chart here is just basically representing all the different main transactions that we have in the system and our response time to those transactions. And our goal with the 200 million benchmark is basically to make sure that every transaction can finish under 2 seconds. Right? So in addition to deep functionality at scale, we're also focused on global, we're focused on reporting and analytics. That 4th area is industry functionality. And we recognize that as a financial platform, when we reach out to various industries, that they're going to have things that are unique to that industry. So the example that we've included here is endowment accounting. We've been working with the higher ed industry really over the course of the last couple of years. In a prior release, we've provided grants, we've done fund accounting, and endowment accounting was kind of the last piece of the puzzle that we needed to be able to start to take these institutions into production. And we had one of our first universities actually go into production in August. So what you'll see over time, and we've made some announcements around this at the users conference, is basically more and more of a focus for financials on additional industries. The next kind of high-level feature that I wanted to talk about was our framework feature. For those of you who are familiar with Workday, you'll know that our history has been really a focus on configuration versus customization. And really what that is allowed to do is have customers have it their way, but still be on the same version as everyone else. This particular feature I'm very excited about because it basically is a way for us to allow customers to configure fairly complex processes in a way that fits their business. And so we call this a configurable grid. And what the configurable grid basically allows you to do is kind of break a process down into multiple sections, and then for those sections, set up the grid in the way that you run your business. So the example that I've got here on the slide, and we'll talk about in the demo a little bit later, is the compensation or the merit process. A little bit hard to read, but you can see that there are the employees down the left-hand side. There's a space in the middle, and there are tabs on the top to look at merit, bonus, performance. And then when I'm on a particular row, I'm able to see that user, more details about that user. Now, from a customer's perspective, what we're allowing is really a pretty unlimited amount of configuration in each of those three areas. So what do I want to show in the employee section? What do I want to show in that middle section, define the tabs and so forth, and then what pops up when I'm on a particular row. We think that this allows us to really provide a configuration platform for our customers around this process, because we've seen a wide variation in terms of the things that are important for them when they're assessing compensation. Then the last feature that I wanted to talk about is from our mobile world. We've spent a lot of time bringing personal information to our mobile platform, bringing analytics to our platform, and we're excited about this new feature which we call notebooks. And basically what that allows us to do, or what this provides to our customers, is a way to group relevant information that allows the user to kind of come back to that book and reference it. So the examples that we think of are a manager going to meet with a particular subset of their employee population. They want to know the employees that are maybe in that region or in that country. They want to be able to tie those employees to the metrics that are relevant to that region, and basically pull all those in for reference at a later time. So this is another area where we'll do a nice demo, so I won't steal any thunder from that. The last thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is a future for us, is Workday Student. This product was introduced at our conference earlier this month, and we're extremely excited about being able to build on the platform that we have for financials and HCM for higher ed. Obviously, things have changed dramatically over the course of the past 10 to 15 years in this space. Nearly every student has a smartphone. They expect to deal with the world that way. More and more of the education system being delivered through online courses, and so the higher ed industry is really at a crossroads in terms of being able to deal with all these things. And so we have a track record of really supporting that industry. Dave Duffield is very passionate about students, and so we've announced our intent to build this product. So we expect the student system to basically mesh together with our HCM and financial products to be the core system of record for students and faculty within a university. We expect it also to be the system of engagement. So all those students with those smartphones, that's how they would access the system to do things like register for courses, check for their grades, pay for their tuition, you name it. And then that'll also provide a broad analytic foundation for analysis, both from a kind of a student perspective as well as from a faculty perspective. We expect this product to roll out over the course of the next couple of years. So the first modules will come out sometime in 2014. We expect the complete product to be available within the next 2 years. And with that, I will turn it over to Steen for a couple of fabulous demos.
Hello, I'm going to spend probably the next 10 or 15 minutes taking you through the highlights of our latest update, Workday 20. And what I'd like to do is start big, and in that case, I'm going to start with Big Data Analytics. As Mike mentioned, Big Data Analytics really give our customers the ability to combine data really from any source, so external data, whether structured or unstructured, and combine that with their Workday information to give them that complete picture, that complete insight, which is truly necessary to make better informed decisions. Now, if you can see my desktop here, you'll see that I have a worklet up here called Big Data Analytics, and I happen to have a report called Sales Organization Health. When I come into that report, really what it shows me for my different sales groups, it shows me how they're doing from a number of perspectives. I can look at demographics, staffing, risk, turnover, all things that you would expect to see in your Workday system, that you would expect to see in your people system. But what you might not expect to see are things like sales metrics. So as I expand out this tab here, I'm going to see additional pieces of information, your year-to-date total sales, your quota attainment, your total opportunities and deal size. So information, external information that we've brought in from our Salesforce system to give us that additional insight where I can see how my sales group is doing from a risk and turnover perspective, but I also really want to see, after all, they are a sales group, I want to see how they're doing from the sales perspective. I can also easily come up to my dashboards, which allow me to combine this information all in one place. So I happen to have a big data sales dashboard. And all of the analytics you see here, which we call worklets, allow me to combine that Workday information, both HR and financial information, with, in this specific case, sales information. So I have on the right-hand side worker profitability by performance. Right in the middle, I'm comparing their profitability to their compensation, to how they're being paid. And if we could focus for a minute on the far left-hand side, the average deal size by performance. So let's take a look at this worklet. What I can see right up front, if I'm looking at my bars here, is that my people in my needs improvement category, they happen to make up the largest average deal size. So if I were to look at just their rating, where I'm thinking that's not the highest rating, I can see that they're actually doing pretty well because their average deal size is the largest. It's really leading the pack. And if I were to compare last year to this year, I can see that they've actually doubled their average deal size from one year to the next. And of course, because all of our reporting and analytics is actionable, I can tap on that number to give me the detail behind that average deal size by performance. And so now I have that additional information combined with my Workday information to give me that complete insight into the people in this needs improvement group, combined with their sales information. So let's take a look at things like year-to-date quota attainment, average discount, so things that I really should consider when I'm considering the performance of a salesperson. Now, let's stop for a moment here on Isabel Blanc. What this external information tells me and what it gives me better insight on are things like the fact that she's at 118.5% of her quota. So she's actually doing very well this year. I can also see that she did 154% last year. So she probably is one of our higher performers. We also see she's not discounting very much. And her average deal size from last year to this year, it's $1.6 million. That's pretty significant. So if I were only to look at her performance rating, I might not think that she's a significant contributor to my organization. But now that I have this complete picture, this complete insight, I can see that Isabel probably is somebody that I want to take a look at, and maybe I want to take action on. Maybe I want to give her feedback saying good job, or maybe I just want to delve in deeper into her information. So let's take a look at Isabel here. And what this is going to do is show me, I can look at her work experience, professional profile. I can see some of that information when it comes up. And it'll also allow me to delve in really to all of the information that I have security for here. So you'll notice there's things like her jobs, her manager history, etc. But what I'd like you to focus on, if you can look at the right-hand side here, there's a tab here called Additional Data. And the reason I'm pointing it out is a year ago, we introduced the concept of custom fields and custom objects. And really what's important about that, what's significant from a big data perspective, is what these are containers for that external data into your Workday system. And what's great is that these containers are within the context of something in Workday, whether it be a worker or a financial, your assets. So it really allows you to combine that external information and put it in the place that you would want to see it in the context of the object that you're looking at. So in this case, for Isabel Blanc, we can see her quota from last year to this year, and we can also see things like her sales from each of the last quarters, and we can see that she's had one sale, but they've all been significant, so we know that Isabel is doing a great job. So let's come back to my dashboard here and to my landing page. And how do we do this? How do we take all this information? As Mike was saying earlier, we take this information, put it into our data store, and what we then do is use our Big Data Explorer tool, and it does take a few seconds for this to come up. We use our Big Data Explorer tool to then combine all this information and allows us then to decide, what's really significant is you can load in all your raw information. So I don't have to actually map this before it comes into the Big Data Explorer. And let's take a look. What's great about this as well is that it's a very familiar user experience. We were very thoughtful when we considered how our customers were going to use this. We didn't design this for a data scientist. We really designed it for your business analysts and what I like to call the mere mortals. So I can come into my workbook. So what we do have, again, familiar concepts. I can open up the workbook, and what you're going to see is that spreadsheet paradigm. So it's going to show me my Workday Salesforce demographics information. If I tap on the next tab, I can see my sales data. So basically all the raw data comes in here. I can decide how I want to combine this information. This happens to be based on a worker, so I can easily combine it based on employee ID or some such information. So again, you see it's all here. Here is where I can map and reduce the information and decide thoughtfully and purposefully what information is going to come directly back into Workday. And I can visualize this as well by tapping up here so I can see that my sales data and my demographics all come directly back into Workday. So I'm only bringing back in the information that I need. So I've kind of cleaned it all out before it comes back into Workday. So coming back to my worker here, once I've defined all that information, I've reduced it, I can now bring it into Workday, into these containers, these custom fields, and then I have all the power of the reporting and analytics to do the analysis that I need to do and give me that really complete insight to make better informed decisions with big data analytics. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit here, and I'm going to shift over and talk a little bit about one of our new tools, the configurable grid. And as Mike mentioned, really it's a framework. And at Workday, we do really like to take frameworks and then extend them. And what you're going to see today is an example of this framework used in compensation. I'm signed in as a manager in Workday, and she happens to have a consolidated merit and bonus process in progress. So when she taps in here, she can take a look and start proposing merit and bonus for the people on her team. And what we're going to see is it's going to bring up this configurable grid, and what I find very significant about it is it truly gives our customers the ability to customize and tailor the process to exactly what their needs are. So what the fields they want, everything that you see here on this grid is configurable. From the pools on the top, I can define what those are to everything else you see. If I can focus your attention to the left-hand side of the page, you're going to see here where it says employee and performance. So this is what we call a composite view. All the things you want to keep handy as somebody is going through their merit and bonus process, this is what you would put here. So things like their supervisory organization or their job profile or where they're located. I also may want to have performance, which you see here, because that might affect how I designate a merit. And because it's actionable, like all of our reporting, I can always tap on something and it'll give me the details, in this case, the details behind my merit target. I can also define whether something should be enterable or editable or something is view only. So our customers will have complete control over that. The other thing is it's dynamic. We used our report writer framework, so I can easily come in here, move things around very simply and easily, and it will automatically change my grid for me. If I can draw your attention to the middle of the page, you're going to see summary, merit, bonus, performance. Those are all sections that are completely defined by you. You can have 2 sections, you can have 50 sections. It all depends on how you do your process. 50 might be a little bit too much visually, but that's your choice. You have the ability to do that should you choose to. Notice as I tapped onto merit, it gave me additional fields here, and I have a scroll here on the bottom because I do have those additional fields. If you look at the right-hand side of the page, you'll see what we call the Smart Panel. Again, just giving you that additional information as you go through the process that might be helpful. What's my new proposed base pay? What's her new proposed comp ratio now that I've made a change to her merit? And if I tap on bonus or I tap on performance, I can see the additional pieces in here. Again, what's nice is I can bring pieces of information that you may not traditionally think of as being part of the compensation process, but certainly I can have them here for either informational or I can update them here directly in the process. The last thing I'd like to show you today is notebooks for the iPad. This is probably one of my favorite features for Workday 20, and it's a really, really nice way for people to organize their information for really any number of purposes. So when I tap into Notebooks, what it shows me are the different books that I've created for really any purpose, whether it be for recruiting, or if I'm traveling, or I have a talent review, or for financial performance. I can combine information that makes sense to me and for any purpose that I'd like. So let's tap into, if I'm traveling to Europe, for example, I happen to have all the executives that I might be meeting there. In this case, my global support director, also my director of field sales, my director of consulting. I have them all together, but not only do I have the people that I'm going to see, I also have analytics that will help me as I go through my discussions on my trip. Now, if we come back to Katarina here, who's the first person in our list, notice I can just swipe through. What's nice is it's not just, okay, I haven't just tagged her here. I can now tap on her organization, and what this will allow me to see is all the people that report up to her, so I kind of have a feel for who they all are in case I may be talking to them as well. And really, if I had security and if I needed to, I could take action, like I could give them feedback or make a change. At Workday, we've really taken our mobile-first approach, where we've moved from consumption to action, where really a lot of our employees and managers can do a lot of their functions and transactions on their mobile devices. So let's come back to our notebook, and let's spend some time on one of the analytics. So I'm looking at expanding in Europe, and I really want to know what my talent looks like in that region. So I can tap on the analytic here, talent by region, and these are worklets like the worklets you saw on the dashboards. Those big data worklets that you saw, I could certainly have those in one notebook if I wanted to. And let's tap on my performance. I want to look at my high performers. All I need to do is tap on it. I can then drill down by any dimension. In this case, I want to look at original hiring manager. Who is my best hiring manager in Europe? Coincidentally, it happens to be Katarina Lindgren, so it's a good thing that I'm talking to Katarina, because I definitely want to tap her brain in terms of how she's getting this new talent. If I wanted to add somebody, we're expanding in Europe, and we'd like to open new facilities. Maybe I want to talk to my facilities manager who happens to be in Europe as well. I can easily search, put in a few, if I actually type them correctly, that would help. Yeah, so I can type that in, and I can see who I have in EMEA. And in this case, my senior office manager, Margaret Granger, simply have to tap on her. And notice the little bookmark here. All I have to do is tap on that. I can decide that I want this to go into this book, and quickly and easily, she's now added, and I can now add her to my list, and as I go through my discussions in my trip, Margaret will be part of that discussion. I don't have to look at this in that cover flow view that we're looking at right now. I can tap on that icon, and what it will then show me is kind of that Pinteresty dashboard view of the information all in one place. So again, just giving you different views, different ways to organize and view the information. I showed you how easy it was to add a person. It's really just as easy to add an analytic. So let's come over to my dashboards here, and let's come over to financials. And I have a financials dashboard, and I've got my report here, this one right in the center, revenue by region. If I take this bookmark here, and I add it, say, to my financial performance, that will quickly and easily add it there. And should I come back to my notebooks? Let's come over to my financial performance. If I tap on it, and again, we can go through. We can see our Chief Financial Officer, some expense information, my revenue by region report, and obviously I have that same ability to stack them all together and view them all at once. So really just a very nice way to organize the information, very visual and really personalized to the user. So with that gives you a quick view of three of some of the highlights of Workday 20, and I want to turn it back over to Mike for any questions.
Thanks, Christina. That was great. So I just wanted to remind everybody that you can use the little comment box to ask your questions. So far we have 2 questions, so I'll answer those. The first, will there be a playback opportunity? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. The replay will be delivered 72 hours post-webinar to all the attendees and registrants. The second question is, can we provide managers pre-built notebooks? That's a fabulous question. The answer is not with 20. The notebooks are user-defined in 20, and we have on our roadmap the next couple of releases to actually make those shareable, and that would allow us to then pre-build notebooks and distribute those out. So we recognize that requirement. That's really the next phase. Okay, the next question. The Workday Student product, is it intended to be the LMS for all organizations, or is it only for higher education purposes? At this point, is really just focused on higher ed. It's not an LMS for non-higher ed customers. Next question is the notebook option available on tablets other than iPads? At this time, no, only on the iOS platform. We fully expect to expand it out to other tablets based on customer demand. Are notebooks pulling on the data real time? Yes, absolutely. And that's a key point and why we're so excited about big data or analytics. The data that you see, whether it's on your desktop or on your mobile device, is all real-time data. And for those who are worried about security, it's all just on the device for display, not in memory. So once the session is ended, there's no information on the mobile device. Do we have an offline capability regards DD? Oh, okay, sorry, that was part of the question. There's not an offline capability to bring the information down instantly. So the next question is, in the big data portion, how many external sources at one time can you pull in to combine with Workday data? That really is up to you. We have a customer using the product to do analysis of their revenue by region, and I think they're pulling in somewhere between 14 and 15 data sources. There's really not a limit to that. It's just going to come down to the complexity of mapping all that data together and how you want to basically reduce that into something that helps you to measure success, but there's not a limit. Next question is, can the notebooks be viewed offline or off network? Similar to a prior question, no, you need to be wired in to be able to see the notebooks. The next question is, with a configurable grid, can a centralized comp function calculate proposed merit bonus amounts and allow managers to make changes? Absolutely. That's really part of the goal is to be able to have a combination of your central HR team sort of laying out the grid in a way that makes sense for you as an organization, and then helping the managers to basically make adjustments to the starting point. When will the student system be available? So it's going to be delivered over the course of about 2 years. The first part of the system will be coming out in 2014, and we expect the full system to be available sometime in 2016. In Big Data Analytics, we're uploading only a summary data into custom fields. Is there a way to display raw data if we want to drill down further? With this release, right now there's not a drill back function into that raw data. And so part of what we're working with customers to figure out is how much detail do you need in those custom fields that you're going to bring in, and then how much do you want to leave back in the big data store. I saw a bit of performance taking a few seconds because of Flash flex-based display components. It's really mostly our demo environment, and a lot of the delay is actually, believe it or not, caused by WebEx. And so to prove that out, I ask you to go and have your Workday contact come and give you a demo on site, or have you come to Workday and see a demo, and you'll see it's a lot faster. If you are only on the HCM product, are you able to pull in financial data from other sources into the big data product? Absolutely. That's one of the main benefits. The example we gave, or we demoed, it was bringing in quota attainment, sales data. You could definitely bring in financial data as well. How flexible is it for end users to perform ad hoc analysis and create custom dashboards and reports? We think it's extremely flexible. We think this is one of our really great strengths, that we've been able to combine what traditionally would have been thought of as an analytics platform with your transaction platform. So we didn't demo it today, but to be able to build an analytic literally with someone who knows what they're doing takes a couple of minutes. What are the methods used to pull data in for the big data portion? ODBC, Excel upload, other, all of the above. Really depends on where we're bringing it. So it can be CSV files, can be information coming in from a relational database that we schedule as an integration. There are all sorts of integration capabilities. Is there an integration between the compensation model and some external currency conversion data? So for the conversion for the demo that we did today, I don't remember if we showed any multiple currencies, but we actually have a place to store currency, both from an HR perspective and from a financial perspective in the system, and you can build integrations out to third parties to basically refresh those currency values and the exchange rates as frequently as you want. Are you able to automate the data loads from outside sources? Absolutely. So we have an integration platform that allows you to schedule those for the frequency, whether you want to do it hourly, daily, weekly, you name it. It really comes down to building up the sort of the architecture of how you want to use this data within your system. Is the configurable grid available across other modules? At this point, not yet. Our first use of it, our first development was with comp, but we fully expect to extend it into other parts of our application over the next couple of releases. Can we easily benchmark data added to the analytics graphics, for example, industry salary average to compare to our own data? This is exactly what we intended the big data and bringing in third-party information to help you to be able to do to basically set up a framework for success and see how you compare to other companies as far as compensation, revenue, cost per employee, things like that. Are there any systems from which you cannot import data from? Really, there's not a technical or a functional reason that we can't import data. It really comes down to legal rules or business rules, or even within your company, the rules that you have around what sort of information that you want to bring in. But there are not any limitations that I know of from a technical or a functional perspective. What kind of options are there for exporting data within the Workday system for further analysis? So not sure if you noticed as we were demoing, but on every screen there's an option for you to basically export that screen and this contents out into an Excel format. Does the configuration grid allow changes for payroll module configuration? Not at this time. So the configurable grid is only for compensation. It's not in the payroll product yet. Is data from the Workday system considered big data by default, or big data analytics is just a way if we have an unstructured data source? So we really look at the big data repository as a place where you can bring in this third-party data and then decide what part of Workday data you want to marry together with that data. So you're basically using the big data repository to take that data and analyze it, and then map that data once analyzed into a way that's, or into a format that's meaningful, whether it's at an employee level or at a company level or at a region level, and then pass that back in for building reports and analytics. Are there any scheduling capabilities for end users? I'm not sure what you mean by scheduling capabilities for end users. The big data, putting the data into big data and pulling the data out of the system is not really an end user function. It would depend on who your end user was and what kind of role they had within the company, but I would expect that it would be more your business analysts who would be setting up the integration. Can we schedule reports to be automatically emailed monthly, etc.? Yes. We're not on Workday yet. Is the big data dashboard that was showing brand new functionality? Yes, it's a brand new product. It was GA 420. We were doing basically the development work with a series of design partners over the course of the last year. One thing I didn't mention that it is definitely a new product, and also from a pricing perspective, it's priced separately. There are two components to the price. One is a subscription that's based on your usage, so whether that's HR or financials, and then there's just a data component of that depending on how much data that you load in. The rest of the features that I showed are actually all just included in the modules that we've already delivered as part of HR and financials. Does Workday accept AMQP feeds? I don't know what AMQP is, so if you can spell that out, maybe I can. Sorry, I'm not familiar with that acronym. Is there a native tool used to import, export data to custom fields? Yes, we have an integration platform that we use that will allow you to import data into custom fields, and that can either be via big data, or you can actually bring data into custom fields through what we call web services. So that's not part of the big data platform, it's just part of our standard platform. What is the backend DBMS used in I'm assuming that's Workday applications. We don't use a database. We basically have an in-memory object model. We do have a data store that we use to persist all of the information for backup, and that is MySQL, but we don't use a database for access of the data. Is this strictly for sales-oriented analysis? Absolutely not. We were just trying to give one example, and so if you remember in the 10 templates that we talked about, there were all kinds of different examples. And I think what's really exciting to me about this product is that I think as customers and users start to make use of this, we'll see just an explosion of great ideas in terms of how to mine third-party data and marry that to Workday data. Is the configuration grid an extension of workflow configuration flexibility? Not exactly sure what is meant by that question.
Again.
Is the configuration grid an extension of workflow configuration flexibility? We look at the configuration grid as just another sort of step on our journey to complete configuration. So we've got configurable fields, we've got calculated fields, we've got custom fields. Now being able to really define how a grid will be laid out, we see that just as another step on our configuration journey.
Yeah, Mike mentioned that Mike called the configurable grid a framework, and the way I'd view it is workflow to us is configured in a framework we call the business process framework. So this is yet another configuration framework that is part of our toolkit to help our customers really make the application fit them.
We heard that the Big Data tool is on Amazon Web Service. Any plan to move that to the Workday proprietary cloud? Yes. At the conference, we announced that our plan is to provide a secondary option to host Big Data sometime late next year. In addition to headcount, comp, and sales data, are you able to incorporate learning and training data? Absolutely. Can't stress enough that it's really any data that you want to bring in and marry to your Workday data. Okay,
we got the what the acronym was, and I actually looked it up on Wikipedia because I didn't know it either. So I think the question is whether we can accept continuous data flows from a queuing system, and I think we're very open as to how data gets loaded. I'm just not certain how whether we can continuously monitor a data feed, and so we'll have to look into that answer. And if we can get an answer back, we'll post it at a later time.
So I love this question. Is one single data store database schema used for both HCM and financials, Workday combined? Absolutely. And for all you people that have those separate, that's not because it makes sense. It's because when they were built separately, there were limitations in the system. So having an HR database that's separate from your financial database makes no sense whatsoever. We have one system. Like I said earlier, it's an in-memory object model. It's not a database, but it's the way of the future. Those systems should be just one system. Do you allow modification of formulas for metrics such as how attrition is calculated? Yes. That's another part of the configuration. And if you're looking at how you want to measure that, how you want to build your metrics and your dashboards, you can either take existing fields or you can make calculated fields that would allow you to add additional information on. Any technical documentation architecture you can share on the in-memory object store? I think we have white papers on Workday.com that talk a little bit about that. Stan?
Yeah, there are. At a high level, there are white papers that talk about how we combine the data and logic in memory. We don't have a specific schema out there for it, but how we take how we use that as the real execution and logic layer for data and keep memory in memory. We talk about that on a high level with white papers.
So it says, so this data cannot be accessed via other report writers such as Cognos or other SQL tools. You wouldn't be able to do SQL against this data store directly, but you could definitely export the data into whatever data repository that your reporting tool sat over and do SQL against that or do reporting?
Yeah, so Mike indicated that we're very flexible about exporting pages to Excel. That's one way to get data out of Workday. Another more generic way to get data out of Workday is to use our report writer. We have a practice of allowing you to write reports and turn the reports into data feeds, and so most Workday customers use that as a way to feed other BI tools. You format the report and click a checkbox, and we present 7 different kinds of data feeds for you to consume the data into sources like Excel or data marts or data warehouses or Cognos.
So the next question is, when a customer wishes to add a data source to big data tables, what is the range of time required to implement? I don't know the whole range of time, but I know when we were working with our design partners that we had a design partner who actually basically built out integration to a couple of different third-party data sources, mapped that, put it into a custom field, and built an analytic, and they did that all in 4 hours. So we're talking about hours and days, not weeks and months. Whereas big data, housed with another vendor, third party, how do you bring big data from outside of Workday real time? So big data currently is housed inside of Amazon Web Services. I mentioned earlier that we're looking at also providing an option to bring that in-house later next year. The big data from outside of Workday, doing that real time is basically based on a series of connectors, and those connectors really are tuned to whatever type of data that we're bringing in, and then you can schedule the integration via those various connectors based on when you need the data, how frequently you need the data, so every minute, every hour, every day, so forth. Can the reports be scheduled? Absolutely. We have a process scheduler that allows you to schedule the reports based on when you need them. So running the reports at night to have available for people in the morning. So we're getting into a couple of technical questions like, do you handle the join function via SQL? We're getting probably a little bit too deep for this webinar. We definitely can do the equivalent of a join, but with an in-memory object model, you have to kind of think about it a different way. It's not SQL. But we can actually do way more than what SQL can do. So it's something that you should dig into if whoever asked that question, because you'd be very excited about the capabilities. Is there an integration with some external currency exchange server? That's really up to the user. We provide integration capabilities. We call them web services. So there is a currency rate table or a series of currency rate areas, both the rate and the exchange, and that's a historical table. You can build integration out to any third party that you want to basically refresh that table. I noticed the 9-box for talent management. If we do not use a 9-box, can we configure to our process? Absolutely. Another example of how we allow you to configure, if you want to use a 4-box, a 6-box, a 9-box, you define the dimensions that you want to have for your talent performance review. Can the notebook be saved as a PDF? At this point, no. And I hadn't actually heard anyone ask us to do that previously, so that's an interesting question. Once the external data is in Workday, is it available to only the user who added it, or is it open to all? So that's another good question. I think maybe didn't spend enough time on this today. One of the really big advantages to being able to hook the big data and the analytics into the Workday system is that you're basically able to leverage the security model and the hierarchy that you've set up within your company. And the security that you have on any of the objects that are associated with big data. So am I allowed to see a certain employee? If I am, then I'll be able to see the extra data. If I'm not allowed to see that employee, then I'm not going to be allowed to see the extra data. So that's a big advantage in terms of speed to delivery or cost of ownership, and being able to bring that data into your existing security and sort of process framework and leverage that. For the calculated variables that you just mentioned, can that be reused as a field object to be available to other analysts? Absolutely. So you can build those calculated fields, and then anyone else has the option to to be able to reuse those for other reports or other dashboards. Is there a structure to export data real time into portal environments such as SharePoint? Again, absolutely. I won't go into all the details of our integration platform, but that's one of the key tenets, is to be able to do things like that. We know that Workday has a partnership with Datamir in designing big data tool. We're using exact Datamir tool, or Workday built using Datamir technology. So the big data tool for mapping and reducing is actually DataMirror, and that's what you saw in the demo was sort of our version of DataMirror. Okay, that looks like we've run through the questions. I, again, want to thank everyone for attending. I appreciate you sticking with us through the slides, the demo, and the questions, and look forward to then having the replay available in 72 hours. Thanks.